Now, here comes another niche video, but yeah, I'm a bit of a collector. I mean, clearly by the stuff behind me, but with video games, I'm not the kind of person who wants to, collect every single video game for every single system. No, I just want to collect the games that at least interest me, or at least games that I want to eventually start playing. And in that regard, I want to collect the best version of said game. So, with that, I've started to collect for this thing. Yeah. This thing. The biggest failure Nintendo has had in decades. The Wii U is an unorthodox console that decided to give the player two screens to play with, instead of one. Now, I can't lie. When it was revealed, I was actually excited for this thing. I don't know why, but being able to see the ball while playing golf gave me a sense of virtual reality. Too bad the end result was nothing like that. Instead, this whole thing feels like a product of the tablet era. And the tablet felt more like a secondary screen that was only useful in certain instances. The biggest plus here was being able to play the full game off the small screen, while others could take up the normal television in the living room. Being able to play your full-blown console away from the system was a pretty novel idea, but you still need to be very close by. This was no streaming device. You were tethered to the console only a few dozen feet away. Wi-Fi streaming was still in its infancy by this point. So what the hell was the point of this console? Well, since it launched a year before the PS4 and Xbox One, it had a leg up on the competition. But come on, this is Nintendo we're talking about. Developers wanted cutting-edge technology to release their newer games on it. And the Wii U was anything but. Yes, it was releasing its own first-party titles, but to fill in the extra gaps, it released many ports. That's standard practice in the industry, but since it was underpowered, it released more ports of last-gen games rather than attempt to release brand new ones. And lo and behold, by virtue of math, the Wii U is actually home to the definitive versions of some games, since it was a powerhouse compared to the last gen, and its extra screen was actually a useful tool in many games. Now yes, definitive should be taken with a grain of salt here, because everyone has their preferences, but with the following games, it's a safe bet. Not just because they are improved versions of previously released games, but because some of them have unique features and content not found anywhere else. To start things off, let's go with some softball entries and work our way up to the heavy hitters. But in this regard, this one is technically definitive, but you could take it or leave it. But yeah, first up, Madden 13. Ever want to feel like John Madden himself? Well, this actually tries to do just that. With the gamepad, you have access to the full coach's playbook. Now, this is just your run-of-the-mill sports game. It's not the best Madden by any means, but this is a good showcase of the secondary screen. It shows that developers try to integrate the peripheral, and in this case, it succeeds, at least in giving the player a unique experience. Now, I can't list every game that uses the gamepad in this video, otherwise we'd be here all day, but this is a good cutoff point. Just because a game uses the gamepad as a map screen doesn't make it definitive. But in the case of Madden 13, this quirk is interesting enough to seek out this port. And if you're at all interested in American football, a cool fun fact is, since 2014, all NFL coaches are now supplied with a tablet to have their playbooks on the field. So weirdly enough, people playing on the Wii U got to see what the future was like for the actual coaches on the field. Pretty cool. Next, Rayman Legends. Sidestepping the fact that this is now one of the best platformers ever made thanks to its great art style and tight gameplay, the Wii U version might be the best to own. Now this is not really a port, in fact it was originally meant to launch as a time exclusive, but sadly it got delayed so that it can release alongside the other versions. Ubisoft saw how bad the Wii U was doing, so they chose to alter the deal. But yeah, what makes this a contender on this list? Is it the much more fluid gameplay of Murphy's section thanks to the touchscreen? No. Is it the smooth 1080p output on TV that is just as smooth as playing on the gamepad? No. Well, what is it? Wii U beats every version for one simple fact. It has a 5-player option. Yep, that's it. Now that may seem like a small victory, but in a game like this, not only is 5-player multiplayer more hectic, but it is far more fun. 4 players use any controllers they can get their hands on, and the 5th player gets to use the gamepad. Runs as good as the rest and is the only version with as many players. As a single player experience, you can easily choose any of the other ports, but as a party game, the Wii U version takes the edge here. Deus Ex: Human Revolution Director's Cut. Now this one has become more definitive as time has gone on. This game also has extra screen support. But here's the cool thing. This was possible on other console versions too. Xbox used Smart Glass, which has long since been unsupported. PS3 uses the Vita. Technically this still works through remote play, But this requires a player to actually own a Vita, so that's not ideal if you have neither to start with. So yeah, out of the box, the Wii U already has the advantage here. But let's delve a little deeper. Why is it a director's cut? Well, compared to the original version, director's cut is just better overall with all the previous DLC included, improved boss fights, hours of behind-the-scenes bonus content, and the terrible yellow filter from the original has been removed, or at the very least has been lessened in most of the game. This has it all: improved gameplay elements, intuitive use of the gamepad, and tons of new content. Even the full-blown strategy guide is included here, which you can see through the gamepad. If you're going to own this game on a console, the Wii U is debatably the best version. If you want mods, of course go for the PC version, but for your first playthrough, the Wii U is the definitive experience, with its inclusion of the extra screen support out of the box. And now we're on to the heavy hitters. The last few were the games that, just barely crossed the finish line. These next few games are easily the best that the Wii U has to offer, and the best version of these games, so yeah, I had to get them in my collection. ZombiU, a launch game that integrated the gamepad into gameplay. The second screen acts as your inventory, and when you rustle around in your backpack, the action around you isn't paused, so you can look up at the TV and see if you are in danger. Definitely a tension builder, and the gamepad seems integral to the overall experience, right? Well, I would say so, but the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions run at 60 frames per second, include more melee weapons, and you know what? The game works fine without a secondary screen. So, then what makes this definitive? Well, it's the local multiplayer mode. One player uses a Pro Controller and has to fight off a swarm of infected in an arena, while the second player is the SOB who spawns them. They use the gamepad and spawn enemies all throughout the map. Now, I have talked about these types of games before in my asymmetrical multiplayer horror retrospective, so it was a nice surprise to see it so well implemented here. Also, credit where credit is due. I gotta thank YouTuber, the Kevster TV, for turning me onto this mode that I almost missed. Next up, Batman: Arkham City Armored Edition. Yes, one of the biggest titles of the 360 and PS3 generation found its way onto the Wii U in the form of this souped up version. All the DLC from the Game of the Year edition is included on the disc. No need to download here. An exclusive new game mechanic called Battle Armored Tech Mode, also known as Bat Mode, is also present, essentially giving Batman a fighting game special meter that, once filled and used, gives him extra power behind every one of his hits. It definitely makes the game easier, so to you purists out there, you can always just not use it, which is pretty simple to do since the button is on the touchscreen. No real chance of pushing it accidentally. On the other hand, it is a pretty cool feature and fits well with the beat-em-up style combat. And since we're on the touchscreen, let's also talk about the extra added features here. And essentially the gamepad is turned into the Bat computer. Map, sonar mode, gadgets, and even the in-game radio was all retooled to utilize the new second screen. It almost feels like you've stepped into the Cape Crusaders cowl yourself, but it goes even further than that, because when it's time to investigate a crime scene, the gamepad screen switches to a detective mode, and here, you move around the tablet to scan the area around you in full 360 gyro aiming. Is it necessary? No, but it feels really cool when you're actually playing it. All in all, this port is tough to beat. Some will scoff at these features, but for fans of Batman, this is a great way to play debatably one of the best Batman games ever made. Which is still up for debate, because since then, the game has been ported again on newer consoles, but none of them retain the extras of the Armored Edition with its secondary screen. Yes, the Switch version included the armored suits for Batman and Catwoman, but the Bat system is missing. So, that's a point for the Wii U version. Now yes, the newer versions run better frame rate wise. But the exclusive features here are just too cool. And to be honest, I got no problem owning this on multiple consoles. For the quality game improvements and making you feel like a detective, this is pretty definitive when it comes to gameplay mechanics. Next up, Need for Speed Most Wanted, U. One of the spiritual successors of the Burnout franchise, as well as a sequel of its own franchise. Need for Speed Most Wanted released on pretty much every console in the 7th generation at the end of 2012, so it made sense to port it to the hot new Wii U a few months later. And this one is no joke, the best version of this game. And it's thanks to the gamepad. There's no fussing around here. The gamepad gives you complete control over everything, with access to the whole map and pretty much every option in game. If you want to switch your car, you can just tap the screen. Change your paint job, tap the screen. Switch between night and day, tap the screen. or even turn the traffic on and off. Well, you get the idea. It is possible to do so instantaneously through the gamepad. And on top of that, this port retains the PC graphics, so it looks and runs better than all console versions previous. And just to sweeten the pot a little bit further, this version has its own exclusive content. First up, a new game mechanic called Disrupt Cops, which literally causes them to lose control at the tap of the screen. Definitely a cheat if I've ever seen one. But this is optional, so if you're like me and enjoys the pursuit, you can just not use it. But most importantly, this port includes special Easter egg areas, which not only are references to Nintendo's history, but they also include unlockable Mario-themed cars. And the best part is, the way to access them is you have to go through hidden warp pipes littered around the map. And I just gotta say, these are just really cool to hunt down. The references are nice, and the cars are some of the best in-game. With all that said and done, I definitely recommend picking up Most Wanted U. And you know what? Despite how stupid that name is, I'm kinda glad they added the U at the end, at least of this version, because it makes it easier to find. Because if you don't know, there's more than one Most Wanted game. Yes, there's the original 2005 game, which is also called Need for Speed Most Wanted, and this new one, which is not a remake, also known as Need for Speed Most Wanted. They call it the 2012... God damn, what the hell, EA? This is just confusing. Whatever, if you want to play a good Need for Speed game that kind of feels like a Burnout game because it was made by the actual same developers, Criterion, well, this is definitely a game you'd want in your collection. Just make sure you get the big U there at the end to make sure you get the best experience possible. Speaking of which, now we're down to debatably the best port on the Wii U. Tekken Tag Tournament 2. Why in the hell was this ported to the Wii U? I mean, thank you, but why? Going along with the precedent that the last game set, this game also includes its own glut of Nintendo exclusive bonuses. And yeah, there are a bunch here. Nintendo-themed costumes for every character, ranging from the obvious Mario, Luigi, and Peach, to even Zelda, Star Fox, and Captain Falcon. I mean, this game already has a create a costume mode, so these officially licensed costumes already saved me the trouble of making them myself. This game even utilizes the gamepad by showing a truncated move list on the screen. And you can just copy the moves right then, just pull them off, but if you're lazy like me, you can even just click the screen itself and the character will do the move automatically. Now this is just cool on all fronts because not only does it accommodate the pro player by showing the actual move list, but this is also cool for younger players and even people with limited mobility, so everybody can play. And to top it all off, this port includes 3 exclusive modes for the Wii U. First up, a special fighting mode called Mushroom Mode. Think of it like a Smash Bros match with only mushrooms on. And yeah, they can either make you bigger or even smaller. It's odd, but it is kind of fun to play, a few rounds with a couple of friends. It's a neat distraction. Which leads me to the next mode. And this is an unexpected return of a weird mode from Tekken 3. Tekken Ball. Volleyball meets fighting. Yeah, this one's... I couldn't get fully into this, but I can see how some could. I'm pretty sure y'all can get the hang of this, but to me it felt a bit random at times. Still, that throwback to Tekken 3, that alone is noteworthy. But to make it even more worthwhile, this mode comes with a list of challenges exclusive to the mode. So, have at them, if this is your poison. And last but not, well, it can be least in some people's eyes, but in this case it's about as weird as the other exclusive modes, Tekken Supporters. In this mode, you are essentially gifting money to fighters and their popularity increases due to this. That's it. What the hell? Cutting through all the BS, essentially you give them enough money and you get an exclusive item out of it. Or at least I think you do. I didn't unlock anything. Wait, according to the internet, you unlock all of their exclusive items once you give them
$1 million.
Okay, well, let's do that then. Nope, still nothing. What the hell did I unlock? Alright, so I guess I'll just check the customized mode and... Oh.
Ooh, suddenly the future's looking a whole lot better.
This isn't really a mode. It's just another way to unlock character items. I don't know why I have to wait a minute between donations, but whatever. Regardless, this is fine, I guess. I mean, if you're a pervy horn dog, I guess. This just feels wrong, man. Regardless, overall, this is definitely the best version to own. So much content and different ways to play. Yes, the gamepad isn't ideal to play a fighting game, but you can always buy a Pro Controller if you want. Now, before I end this video, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. And even before I get to those, I need to talk about 2 games that are in a weird limbo area because simply speaking, they belong on this list, but for all I know, they might release tomorrow or, the Switch successor, whatever. Let's talk about the Zelda HD games. Ever since the Switch was announced, everyone was just begging Nintendo to port these games to the magnificent port machine. I say that with love. But surprisingly, our pleas were left unheard. Unless you really need to play the game with motion controls, Twilight Princess HD is the best version. Not just because it has better graphics and amiibo support, but because it comes with a whole new hero mode, a harder quest that gives those who played the game before an incentive to jump back in. But if you don't care that much about a hard mode, nothing is hugely different from the GameCube version. So while it is definitive, it's not by a lot. But in the case of Wind Waker, HD is the definitive version by far. Not just because the cel-shaded graphics look amazing in HD, with improved shadows mind you, but they actually went back and fixed the game. Not only are there quality of life improvements like easier climbing and landing reticles, but sailing around is no longer as tedious as before, thanks to the Swift Sail, and, well, the annoying Triforce quest has been truncated immensely. On top of that, you have the map always on the gamepad, so no need to pause. It's just easy as hell to navigate the seas this way. So yeah, with Twilight Princess, you can take it or leave it. But with Wind Waker, the Wii U version is by far the best version. And now we're on to the real honorable mentions, because these games I doubt will ever be ported ever again. But yeah. This one barely misses the cut, and it is Sonic and All-Stars Racing. I just realized how weird that title is. But yeah, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. So why is this an honorable mention? Well, let's look at the reasons why it should be on the list. First up, 5-player split screen. 4 players can use Wiimotes or Pro Controllers, and the 5th can use the gamepad. Pretty basic. But wait, there's more. Outside of the PC version, the Wii U port is the best performing of the console versions. The 360 and PS3 versions have screen tearing, and some other graphical issues, while the Wii U's VSync is rock solid. Not to mention, the welcome addition of Mii Racers, making the possibilities endless if you know how to use the Mii Creator. That should automatically put it on the list. Well, it's an honorable mention because the PC version has far more exclusive characters, and I'm talking about some interesting ones here, like Ryo from Shenmue, to even a Team Fortress 2 racer, consisting of the Pyro, Heavy, and Spy driving the different types of vehicles. So yes, while 5-player split screen is great, the PC definitely has some more interesting content. Not to mention, since the Wii U servers have been knocked out, the PC version can still be played online. Tough call, but I can't in all good faith call it for the Wii U here. If you're dying to play the best version, get it on PC. Alright, these next few I'm going to be more brief with, but they are still notable. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. This has none of the DLC, so that automatically takes it out of the running for definitive. But honorable mention because it has Wiimote support and even dual split screen support. You and another player can play co-op with each of you having your own dedicated screen, the TV, and the gamepad. This is actually pretty cool to be honest. Call of Duty Ghosts also retains these features, but that's Ghosts, and that sucks on all systems, so moving on. Pikmin 3. Game works better with the gamepad, but only by a little, while Pikmin 3 Deluxe on the Switch includes more content in the form of extra missions and 2-player co-op. So it's up to you what you value more. Wonderful 101. Dual screen action is necessary for the game to function properly, and the Switch port suffers from trying to put both screens on one. This should be pretty cut and dry, but the Switch version runs better at 1080p and can also be played fully portable. So yeah, kind of a toss-up. And now finally, the last game of this list, and the biggest doozy of the bunch, I mean even the title is cumbersome, Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3. This is a remake of Super Mario Bros. 3 for the Game Boy Advance, if you didn't realize that. But sidestepping the improved graphics and the inclusion of voice clips, this version has extra levels made specifically for this port. But the only way to access them was through a failed peripheral, known as the e-reader. You connect this to your console and you'd scan cards. And these cards were sold in packs. So if you want to unlock a level, you'd have to scan the corresponding card. And sometimes multiple times, but either way, the best thing about this was the fact that they could actually be saved onto the GBA cartridge. But another big problem kind of arises because there's a bunch of levels, and the GBA card can only hold so much of them. So even if you had all the cards, it was impossible to have them all in the cartridge all at once. You can overwrite them over and over, but using the e-reader was tedious. So thankfully, when this game was released digitally for the Wii U, all the new levels were baked in. And this was great, because now checking out some of these levels, these are some damn good ones. Not only are they fun, but some of these are really challenging. This is almost a full game's worth of content here, so I would easily say this is definitive. But, like I said, this is digital, and it was never released physically as an all-in-one package. Even worse, this was on the Wii U Virtual Console, and we all know what happened to that. But once again, thankfully, this version is now available on Switch, behind a premium subscription service. Jesus, Nintendo. But hey, at least this version of the game is still accessible. For now. Well, that's the video. And yeah, the Wii U is objectively a huge failure. But at least it has a lot of great games, and some definitive versions of said games. And some of these games will probably never get ported off this system. Yes, this has been ported many, many times, but this particular version, probably never. And speaking of games that are never going to come off the working Wii U, this one, Xenoblade Chronicles X, will probably never leave this console. I don't know why, but apparently it's just not in the works for them. So that's just crazy to me. But yeah, the Wii U was such a failure that the Switch rose from its ashes. And looking to the future, I doubt that they're ever going to make another, two-screen console again. If they do, great, we might get some of these games ported again, but I doubt it. I feel like Wii U left such a bad taste in their mouth that they're not going to do that again. Even though it wasn't that bad. But yeah, regardless, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.